Welcome to a special edition of the Stress to Success Shift podcast and Dr.
The
Dan.
Destination Health Podcast. You can see right here the Stress to Success Shift insignia. It's kind of like in my skull a little bit there.
It
is.
is.
It's like, watch, if I go like,
is.
oh, it's in my skull. So how are you today, Dr. Irene? What's going on?
I am doing well, and for my listeners on the Stress to Success Shift podcast, Dr. Dan decided to turn the tables on me and interview me today because we've been doing this series of lives on Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn that have been really fun and really, really powerful. And it's all about tap into elite performance. And because that's what the Stress to Success Shift is all about. It's about transforming or shifting from ordinary to extraordinary and from stress to success. And so we decided that because the whole point of it is that even elite performers can have setbacks in life that perhaps have nothing to do with them. And you know what? It's still a journey. It's like there's this big myth, right, Dr. Dan, that once you're up there, you've made it and you've got it made in the shade. No, it's a continuous journey. And so I recently suffered an illness that, much of the world is very familiar with.
Concerned
about and familiar with.
Correct.
And so Dr. Dan and I were having a conversation about what I did for healing myself and boosting my immune system. And so we decided to bring this to you. So this is by no means.
I'm going to interview you on your podcast, which is actually part of my podcast right now. And
yes.
we're just kind of like, mixing and matching right now. So wait, this is a StreamYard. Where are we right now?
So yeah, this is actually new. You want to talk about stepping outside your comfort zone. Our friend Michael Osterlink talks about creating a crucible, right? Which is a space to grow from. And so this is my very first time using StreamYard, and we are
streaming.
Hopefully we're streaming. If not, I guess.
All right, I'm going to check before we start. Let's check. Where are we streaming to?
we are streaming to LinkedIn, to
Where
Facebook,
else?
Into our Stress to Success Shift Facebook group. And we are streaming to Instagram, assuming that they're all working. If not, guess what? This is a learning experience. So while Dr. Dan is checking,
we are in the private Facebook group. Yes. We are there. Hold on one second. I'm just going to check Instagram real quick, everybody. I just want to make sure that we're rocking and rolling. Oh, I got a million messages. I'll deal with those later.
It's because you're such a popular guy, Dr. Dan.
Sometimes I am, yes. All right, here where are we? All right, no, that's not it.
So while Dr. Dan is checking, I will give a disclaimer and say what you see or hear in this podcast is what I used to boost my immune system and recover. And hi, Dr. Sock. And
you can't hear you. I have my things on.
and this is in no way to be construed as a doctor-patient relationship.
No,
we're just telling you that thou shalt do this or that. Right? This is just talking through what I did for myself.
Yeah, we're just talking here. We're not going and we're not giving any advice of any sort. All right, we're good. We're just telestreaming all over the place right now.
We are. So and some final background, I was going to say, final background is that for those of you who have been following me know that I did quite a bit of traveling over the last 6 months, spent 3 months in Crete and then almost 3 months in Croatia, and have just recently landed back in Canada. And I was visiting friends and had no sooner landed basically than I came down with this little bug that knocked me flat on my back, and like the exhaustion was
the exhaustion was real.
The exhaustion was real. It was through the floors. Like I couldn't keep my eyes open. And then I developed a fever higher than any that I've had since, I'd say in the last 25 years. So it was very significant and I was visiting, and the people were away, my friends were away. So I had access to nada, niente, like as far as like medical care or, odds and sods of over the counter, whatever. In other words, all I could rely on was me, because it was me, myself, and I there. So I wanted to give that as a bit of a background to this. And now, Dr. Dan, you take it away.
I've had this bug a couple of times myself. One time was mild, and this is not to minimize anything. I'm just, my experience. But then I had it a second time in December, and it was mild, but the fatigue was very, very, it was severe. So, Dr. Irene, you took a test, you tested positive, and what was the first thoughts that went through your mind?
So even before I was able to take a test, because it was a few days before I could even get somebody to go get a test for me. Literally, I had nothing. All I knew was that I was experiencing, as I said, just like that, and I was trying to work through. I even did a podcast interview with Dr. Rita Marie, Lo Scalzo, that you know and love as well as I do. So
you got to be smart with Dr. Rita Marie. So
I know, right? So for those of you listening to my podcast and you happen to listen to the episode right before this, I was battling this without knowing it as I was doing that. I literally slept right up until the point that I jumped on the podcast interview with her. In fact, frankly, I was a few minutes late. It's a great thing that Dr. Rita Marie is so amazing. And I still had no clue at this point. And I'll also say that, doctors can really make the worst patients, right, Dr. Dan?
All the time.
Yeah, all the time. And so it didn't even occur to me that I had caught the same bug that, others, around the world have been catching en masse, because, I was so proud of my super powerful immune system, right? And as I said, elite performers, crap happens. And it just so happened in my travels on the way back from Croatia to Canada, I literally went over 25 hours without sleeping, and a great deal of stress. It was like, for some reason, it was like, if anything could go wrong on that trip,
that'll knock you. Yeah, that'll knock you out.
So at the point where the brown stuff started hitting the fan, I still had no clue, except, it was like, oh, crapoles, this, you're not in Kansas anymore, Toto. Like, it was like, I literally, as soon as I got off the interview with Dr. Rita Marie, I literally, like, the fever, the chills, the whole body pains, like, for those in the tropics who are used to dengue fever, right? They call it breakbone fever, right, as the colloquial term, because the fever is so high, you feel like everything's like, right, and that everything's just totally broken. And that's really how I felt. If I'd been to the tropics, I would have assumed that maybe I'd gotten dengue fever. That's how strong it was. So what I felt was oh my gosh, I have to do something fast. What can I do? And aside from crawling in under the covers and trying to stay warm because it was, hot, hot, hot out, but I could not get warm to save my
There's a
life.
song in there, hot, hot, hot.
Feeling hot, hot, hot. Trust me. I think I was like sizzling to the touch on my skin and my bodily fluids, but I thought that I was stuck in an igloo or something, like in a deep freeze, because I was so cold. So I went to the one thing that I know the best, which, having done acupuncture for 20 some odd years, I decided to start doing some acupressure points on myself.
That's exactly what we want to talk about now today is the tapping, because you are the tapper and you can, help out significantly with this EFT. So why don't we discuss just for a few seconds the science behind EFT, and then we'll get into that whole situation.
That was a great question, Dr. Dan.
I always ask great questions.
You do. That's why you are such an amazing podcast host yourself, right?
I have Dr. Sock sitting next to me, and he just makes fun of me whenever I'm doing this. So,
well, we'll talk to Dr. Sock after this. So can you still say I have like a little bit of the brain fog going on, and it's been like a week and so. The most important thing to understand that whether you use the term tapping or acupressure or emotional freedom technique, it is all based on solid clinical evidence, about 2,500 years worth, and now a constantly expanding body of research that shows that not only does tapping or holding these acupressure points help you emotionally, which is why the one technique is called emotional freedom technique, EFT. It helps you mentally. It helps you mentally by calming down the 5 alarms going off in your amygdala, your emotion center in your brain, so that it calms the stress response, or as I call it, the survival response, right? And because when you're in survival mode, you can't think straight. You do feel like you have brain fog, even without any physical bug causing it. You just feel like you're frozen, right? You're either like frozen in time, like in space, you can't move, or you're frozen in that you're in a rut, and all you have to do, you're like a guinea pig on a hamster wheel, right? You're just going round and round and round and round and round, and you can't jump off of it, right? So when you're in survival mode, you can't think straight, you can't think logically, you can't come up with creative solutions, you can't make good decisions on those solutions, you can't galvanize yourself, like kick yourself into gear to actually take action, and you have absolutely zero control over your emotions. So people will feel like, I don't know why I'm crying like this, or why I just like went into Hulk mode and blew up at my family, when it's not like me, right? So that's the survival response, and so the acupressure, just like acupuncture, helps calm that response down so that you can think straight, so that you can think logically, creatively, make good decisions, act on them, so you can actually get the results that you need, and keep those emotions in check so that you're not flying off the handle at somebody or crying at the drop of a hat. You're actually focused on what needs to be done. So that's another thing that the acupressure does. And I'm going to keep using the term acupressure. It's easy to talk tapping, and there's a whole amazing community out there that does tapping, like the tappingsolution.com. Brad Yates is one of my mentors and heroes, right? They do amazing work. And I like to focus on the acupressure side of it. In other words, understanding that it's a whole medical discipline, an alternative medical discipline, or should I say Eastern medicine, right? And so it has very physical effects. So again, research has shown that it massively nosedives your stress hormones, your cortisol. It upregulates, turns on your immune system genes, and it downregulates or shuts off your inflammatory genes. Those are the little buggers that cause like fever and pain and swelling, right? It downregulates cancer genes even, right? So it helps you sleep better. Because it's directly impacting the stress response, it transforms your thyroid hormones, which are your metabolic messengers, so that it actually kicks back on your ability to lose weight, for instance, right? As Dr. Dan, I know you specialize in metabolic syndrome and functional medicine. And I know that you and I have had discussions about how many of your clients have come in having gained however many pounds over the past couple of years.
I've seen the average of 50
pounds. There you go. And so it's not even, and it's not that those people are bad, stupid, or crazy or lazy. It's not because they're eating comfort food. They may be, right? Especially when everybody was locked down and they went searching. It's also because your body goes into survival mode, right? And it thinks when it goes into survival mode, it's like, I don't know when the next meal's going to be, right? So I need to assume that this is starvation mode, right? So your body literally will ramp down, slow down your metabolism to make you more efficient at burning whatever calories that you're burning. And so that is why that, and it happens on a multitude of levels, whether it's, your free T3, which is your active thyroid hormone being converted to what's called reverse T3, which is, it can't be used. So your labs may look completely normal, right? And I don't know about you in the United States, Dr. Dan, I know in Canada that they don't measure reverse T3. They'll maybe, if you go to your doctor and get a thyroid panel, unless they're suspecting something, they'll just go, oh yeah, your TSH is normal. If you push, they might go.
All my patients are T3. We definitely go with that.
Well, but that's because you're special, Dr. Dan.
Thank you.
A lot of doctors don't, right? In other words, they measure TSH first, and then maybe they'll measure T3, T4. And then, of course, the key, as you know, is understanding that you could look like you have lots of T3, your active thyroid hormone, but if you don't do the special tests, it's not going to show you that how much of that is actually unusable. So many people are being undiagnosed, and we have friends and colleagues in common, Dr. Amy Horniman, Dr. Eric Osansky, right, who specialize in thyroid.
Yeah, they're the best, yes.
Yeah. Dr. Eric works with Graves' disease, which is one autoimmune condition, and Dr. Amy works especially with Hashimoto's, which is the hypothyroid. right? And so these are the ways that physically acupressure can help. And that's just like an overview, which is why when I was shivering in bed, because it's second nature to me now, I automatically went to doing acupressure on points, and not just, again, EFT and tapping is great. They have fantastic, they use very powerful acupuncture points, and I knew I needed other ones as well.
Now,
so, yes.
I just want to say that if anybody has a question, please put it in a comment section, and if you see me looking down, I'm just looking at the various platforms that we're on so that we can answer a question. Now,
yes, actually, and Dr. Hokei Eiko she's on LinkedIn, and she says, important conversation. Thank you for having it. Thank you, Dr. Hokei. I know it's you are doing so much in your own way in this area as well. So please,
where's
yes.
that in LinkedIn? Is that LinkedIn?
That's LinkedIn, and you need to get more. I'll keep track of LinkedIn if you need me to, Dr. Dan.
Okay.
And for those of you who are listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please leave comments, and we will respond there as well.
All right. Now, how do I get onto the LinkedIn? Where am I going? This is something new to me.
It should be showing up in our feed, and you were tagged, so
I was tagged.
Well.
Okay, hold on.
Were.
All right, let me see if I don't know where I'm. All right. Anyway, all right. So, Dr. Irene, let's get into some specific tapping. Let's get into some specific tapping on what this looks like and how you helped yourself out and how you may be able to help others out.
Great question and suggestion, Dr. Dan. So one of the first things that I do, whether it is for myself, honestly, or for our clients, whether it's individually or in our group training sessions, right, Dr. Dan, is that I always do some form of active meditation first to bring us into that place. And so one of the things that I'm going to have you do, if you're listening to this while driving, don't do the close the eyes part, please. Okay. So, and if I weren't on StreamYard, I would play some of our special subliminal audio music to help entrain the heart rate and brain waves down into low alpha, and into even theta, which is into the healing mode, it's called the self-hypnotic mode. Don't get scared by that. It simply means it's where children live for the first few years of their life. So, they're not just like little waking zombies, right? No, it's just that brainwave state that enables you to learn better, faster, and heal faster. So this is why we do it. And I have so many of these different techniques. The one I'm going to do today, since we are talking acupressure, is just to explain a little bit first. You have two meridians the first one is your conception vessel meridian that goes from your perineum, which sits right in front of your anus, right?
I was going to say, you have to explain this to people.
I am. That's why I said it's what you sit on.
Yeah, it's what you sit on.
It's in front of your anus, right? And it travels up your midline of your body and ends, at least on your skin, just beneath your bottom lip. Then your governing vessel meridian goes from that same spot. Think of it just right in front of the tailbone, really. And it goes up your spine, up and over your head between your eyebrows, down your nose, and ends underneath your nose. So those two together create what is called a microcosmic orbit. Microcosmic orbit. And when you, this is one of those, if you've followed me at all, you know I do weird things, like have you rest the tip of your tongue against the roof of your mouth, right behind your teeth and the ridge. And so just gently rest the tip of your tongue against the roof of your mouth. And just allow the back of your jaw to relax down as if you're about to yawn. If you feel the need to yawn, go ahead. Now, see, we're both coughing. I have to take a drink of my tea while I do this. All right. So if you are in a place that you can, close your eyes. Otherwise, do this with your eyes open. Resting the tip of the tongue gently against the roof of your mouth. I want you to take a deep breath in and hold it. And slowly release it all out. Continuing to breathe in that way. Deep breath in and hold it. And slowly release it all out. And continuing to breathe in that manner, I want you to envision that you have a ball of golden energy resting just in front of your tailbone. And as you breathe in, you're going to move that ball of energy all the way up to the top of your head. And then slowly release it back down your front midline. Allow it just to float back down until it rests in front of your tailbone again. Going to breathe in, allowing the golden ball of energy to travel up to the top of your head. And slowly release it back down the midline of your front to your tailbone. Breathing in, up to the top of your head. And allowing it to trace a golden path all the way back down through your midline to your tailbone. I'm going to not talk, allow you to do that 3 more times. And you're going to continue breathing that way throughout this whole session. And what I'm going to show you is each point and 1 breath cycle. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So you're focused on continuing that golden microcosmic orbit, keeping the tip of the tongue connected, right? Because what you're essentially doing is connecting the 2 meridians inside. There's massive neurophysiological reasons for this as well. And what we're going to do is, for those of you not watching the video, I'm going to explain what I'm doing, okay? So the first one is holding up my hand, palm facing my face. I'm going to just take the corners of the nail beds, and I'm just going to gently press each side. Deep breath in. And slowly release. That was on the baby finger, my apologies. Now on your 4th finger, deep breath in and hold it. And release. Middle finger, deep breath in. And slowly release. First finger, index finger. Again. And when you're doing this on your own, feel free to go back to this. We're going to put a time stamp in and exhale. In your thumb, both sides of the nail bed. So that you can do this again and again, repeat, lather, rinse, and repeat, as I love to say, as often as needed. And once you get used to doing these points, you can do them like 3 breaths even at each point. Now coming to the side of your hand, right underneath your baby finger knuckle. If you crink your finger, it's where the wrinkles are. This is small intestine 3.
I don't have any wrinkles, Dr. Irene.
Yeah, crink your finger. There you go. And so in EFT, they'll talk about tapping the karate chop point, which is the whole side of the hand. The actual point is right underneath the baby knuckle on the side of your hand. And again, hold as you take a deep breath in. And let it all out. So as you're going to start to see, I'm going to be adding in more points that are not in typical EFT. And now keeping your palm facing your face, I want you to find the...
Does it matter what hand you're using?
Does not. In fact, when I do it myself, I'll do it first on one side and then on the other. Okay.
My hand is more tan than yours, just to let you know.
Well, that is, my genetics compared to yours, Dr. Dan.
Yes.
So in between, if you go from your baby knuckle and your 4th finger knuckle and follow it back on the back of your hand, there's a divot in between the 2 long bones on the back of your hand.
Got it.
This is called the gamut point. Again, another deep breath in. And slowly release. And now moving over into the web between, on the back of your hand, between your thumb and your index finger. There's a spot there that's usually pretty tender because there's a lot of nerve endings there. And this is large intestine 4. This is the master point for the head and neck. I'm not going to give all the names of the points. Some I will.
It is tender.
It is tender. And now there is I'm trying to figure out how to show you on camera. Oh, I got to go this way. There we go. There is, if you spread your thumb out, there are 2 tendons that pop up over here. And this is called your anatomical snuff box. In the olden days, they used to actually put snuff in there and then they go like this. Don't ask me why. They thought it was a good thing at the time. But anyway, when you spread your thumb out, there's that divot in between those 2 tendons on the side of your wrist. And that is one of your lung points. And so I obviously added this one in, for the lung benefits.
Sure.
Okay. So you can do a deep breath in. And all the way out. Now I'm trying to get used to where I'm looking on the video. The next one is, if you're, again, keeping the palm facing your face, there's your wrist crease at the back of your hand. So put your index finger on the middle of that wrist crease, and then go 2nd, 3rd, 4th finger. So 3 fingers in is, again, in acupuncture, we love our divots. And this is triple heater 5, triple warmer 5. So this is, again, very, very powerful, powerful point. And I'm going to show a little things that if you go the very opposite way on the other side of your forearm, that's pericardium 6, and you can literally press those at the same time. In acupuncture, if you really wanted to, you could put a needle right through and hit both points. Don't recommend doing it at home.
I don't recommend doing that for anybody listening in at home. At all.
At all.
At all.
All right. So you've probably taken a deep breath by now.
I have, Dr. Irene.
So as you can tell, many of these are different points than what are in typical EFT. Okay, which is why I preferred just to call it acupressure.
Right.
Okay. And now coming to your elbow crease, right? Like on the inside of your elbow, right? On the thumb side, I can't see everything. I'm trying to show you my arm.
That's okay.
on the video.
People understand on the thumb side. Yeah.
On the thumb side of the elbow crease, right at the end of the elbow crease, is another very important point. This is large intestine 11. So you're just going to press in there. This is amazing for knocking down inflammation and heat.
Oh, really?
So you can be sure that I was doing this one a lot with my fever. It's also a very good point for women who may be experiencing hot flashes. So in other words, it's about the heat, releasing
Bring the heat.
No, we want to release the heat.
Release the heat.
Release the heat, not release the Kraken, release the heat. Okay. So today I'm just showing on one arm. So there is what I would generally do then, and what I did for myself is then I went to my right hand.
And you just reversed everything on your right hand. So you did your right hand, you did your left hand, and you did right hand. It doesn't matter if you start on your right hand or if on the left hand. Dr. Irene, that was phenomenal.
And that's just that part of it. So now we're going to move to points that are more typically used in EFT, right? And there's 3 points that usually go on the inside of the eyebrow. Just put 3 fingers so that you get the 2 points on the inside of the eyebrow, and then the one in the middle, which is yin tang, which is about calming down the whole system. And you can tap or you can hold. I prefer to hold.
Can you rub?
You can rub. You can rub. And then again, you can do this both sides or you can do one side. So after that point, you're going to follow your eyebrows out to the outside of your eyebrow. This is the start of the triple heater meridian.
I've done this before, folks, so I know exactly where to go.
Yeah. And after you take a deep breath there, you're going to slide your fingers down to the outside of your eye. Take another deep breath in. That's your gallbladder meridian start. And then you're going to come around to your cheekbone right underneath your eye. There's another divot there on the bone. And that's...
It freaks me out to feel my divots.
I tell you, we love our divots in acupuncture because usually there's like a nerve or something very powerful coming out there. Okay. That's the beginning of your stomach meridian. And then coming to the side of your nose. If you're seeing me on video, I am not picking my nose. It's in the cleft of the nose. That's the end of your large intestine meridian. Then underneath the nose is the end of your governing vessel meridian, GV26, as we discussed earlier, talking about the microcosmic orbit. Then underneath the mouth in the cleft of the chin, conception vessel 24. And now coming in, I'm going to move my video a little bit so you can see. So now coming down to the chest, you're going to follow your collarbone in towards your breastbone. And then when you hit the breastbone, you're going to fall to either side into yet another divot. You got it, Dr. Dan.
Got it right here.
Got it right there. And this is the end of your kidney meridian, kidney 27, which is incredibly powerful and important for your life energy as well. Now, one of the things that I'm going to recommend is that it runs up the side of your breastbone, and there are about 5 or 6 very, very important points there. So you can literally tap all the way up. In fact, you want to get your thymus gland, which is underneath the top of your breastbone. So this is one of the spots I will recommend, just tapping through the whole area, where you are tapping up and down your breastbone and on either side, right where the ribs join in. Okay. Next point is coming from the top of your collarbone and falling down in front and into the middle, what do you call it, to the inside of your shoulder. That's the top of your lung meridian. So again, given what I was, what bug I was dealing with, it was very important to
get the lungs going, right?
Get the lungs going. Get the lungs going. In fact, do that on both sides. Very, very important. The next point is the end of your liver meridian. It's underneath your breast or nipples for the guys. For women, it'd be like right around the bra line in the front. That's the end of your liver meridian, right? You need your liver strong so that it can clean out
I have a question
all of the toxins.
If I order like a bunch of sheetrock,
and then
50 pieces of sheetrock and plywood and stuff like that, how long does it take to get it delivered?
And then you go to the side of your chest at the bra line for women, nipple line for men. And this is the end of your spleen meridian. So very, very important that you take care of that as well, right? Because your spleen is what cleans your blood and gets rid of all the dead and decaying and broken cells in your blood.
I know Dr. Sock was ordering some sheetrock, so I was trying to reach and so forth. So Dr. Irene, this has been great. I think we're going to do another Tapping Tuesday, you and I, next week. I think that there's something that's going to be going on with this on a weekly basis. And this is something for you to do. You're not feeling well. You catch a bug. You need to feel a little bit better. This is a great routine. So what is it? Rinse, repeat, lather,
rinse, and repeat.
So lather it up, rinse it out, and repeat it up again. And this is a great way to help you out. I used to do some acupressure when I first was in practice, but nothing to this extent. So this is something that's learning, it's educational, and it can be very beneficial. So Dr. Irene, any last thoughts for a few seconds before we sign off today?
Thank you so much for interviewing me and turning the tables on me for both of our podcasts, Dr. Dan, and for helping me through the crucible of learning how to do live streaming and podcasts, because I love this and I've been wanting to do it for a long time and needed to just
now you're an expert at it.
Well, I'm that see one, do one, teach one. I think I'm at the do. Well, I'm not sure if I'm ready to teach somebody yet, and we'll work on it. Right?
Absolutely.
All righty. Thank you so much for joining us, and Dr. Dan for being our host on today's edition of the Stress to Success Shift podcast and the Destination Health podcast, which is Dr. Dan's podcast. Thank you, and join us for more episodes and more live streams every Tuesday. We're going to be doing live streams
We're going to be doing live streams. We're going to be doing tapping with different people, and it's going to be exciting. Come on in, join us, and tap along with us. Great to see everybody. Thank you very much, Dr. Irene.
Thank you, Dr. Dan.